Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. As you can see, the book that I have here is Jack London's White Fang and Call of the Wild. I wanted to talk about this book because I read it not too long ago, and actually I just read Call of the Wild. I didn't read White Fang, but I do want to read White Fang. I remember reading it when I was younger, but I don't remember too much about either one actually, and the movie recently came out with Harrison Ford, so I thought that would be a good excuse to revisit Call of the Wild, which is what I did. Excuse my, again, you'll have to excuse the fact that I have to use my hand. I still don't have a tripod, and so yeah, sorry for that. And then I'm a little sweaty right now because I just came in from outside in the midst of this pandemic, where it's raining outside right now where I'm at in Texas, and there was a pause in the rain, so I thought that, you know, that might be a good chance to just get outside and move around a bit because I've been cooped up inside with this social distancing thing that's going on. So any excuse to get outside is much appreciated. But now that I'm back inside, Call of the Wild, you know, I saw the movie, and I must say the recent movie that just came out with Harrison Ford, and I was very much looking forward to it because before I saw it, I revisited the book or the story, and I must say I don't remember the story being so violent, so gritty, so brutal. I mean, it really is a brutal story. I think part of my emotional response to the book is that I am now a dog dad, as you can see here. Let me see if I can show you. This is my Vinny. Oh, and of course he's making a huge mess. Vinny, say hi. Hi, Vinny. Oh, this is why I lay down this, because he makes a mess. But in any case, yeah, so I'm now a dog dad, and it's maybe I'm just more sensitive to you know, violence against dogs, violence against animals, now that I have my own little animal here with me, whom I'm just crazy about him. So that's possible, but I think even without being a dog dad, I mean, I would find this book quite brutal to get through. To begin with, I mean, there's a few passages that I can kind of pull up and read to you that just really struck me. But essentially what we have here is a story about a dog named Buck. And Buck comes from California. And Buck is stolen and sold into, he's a family dog, and he's used to the warm, lush fields and open fields of California, the sunny, beautiful, idyllic setting. And then one day, one of the workers that tends to, I believe he might be like a groundskeeper or something. He's desperate for money, and this is all taking place during the gold rush in the Arctic North. And so you have a lot of people going north to search for gold, to find riches, and one thing that they need in their search is dogs to pull sleds. And so dogs are in high demand. They recruit dogs, and they want dogs, and they'll pay top dollar for a good dog to send up north. And so this worker sees an opportunity, and he steals the dog and sells it into slavery, for lack of a better word. I mean, he sells it into, and it's all told from the dog's perspective. And so what we get after he sells it is just this relentless march towards this just this unfathomable existence of striving and struggling and torture and blood and beatings and brutal deaths. And I mean, there's so much that goes on in this story to indicate the harshness of this life of being a sled dog in the Arctic North during this time period. And it really gets to you after a while. You're reading it, and it reminded me, and I don't mean any offense when I say this, although maybe I shouldn't say it, but it reminded me in a weird way of 12 Years a Slave. I guess the narrative by or the memoir by Northrop Frye, because that emotional toll, and of course I'll never compare the experiences, because it's a dog versus a human being. I would never kind of equate the two, but in terms of like the emotional trajectory of the story, it does have a similar arch in that it tracks this like relentless oppression, physical, mental oppression on this character, and in this case it's a dog. And what it does is it really makes you feel quite empathetic towards the dog, and it really makes you understand the sort of the emotional path that the dog is taking towards a state of wildness. He goes from a state of domesticity towards a state to a state of like just wild, in the wild, the call of the wild. That is what the call is. It's the call of nature. It's the call of the primal self. And I found it to be quite powerful, actually. Disturbing, devastating, thrilling, but very, very powerful. And at the end, you get a sense of like dog's loyalty to man. And it's just it's a really good story. I didn't realize just how powerful and affecting it was. And I would highly encourage you. It's only about 100 pages, depending on which edition you have, but you're looking at about 100 pages tops. You can read it in a day. It's not that long, but it's very readable, it's very accessible, and it's really emotionally involving as a story. So I thought it was great. I'm really happy. What I hear is that, and I don't remember this from when I read this when I was younger, but I feel like I think that the two, White Fang and Call of the Wild, are flip sides of the same coin. So you have Call of the Wild, which is about a dog going from domesticity to wild, and then White Fang is the opposite, going from a state of wildness to a state of civilized domesticity. So it's the opposite. So that'll be interesting to read when I finally get around to it. But Call of the Wild, very good. Nothing like the movie. If you watch the movie, I mean, there's similarities, but please do not judge the merits of the story based on the movie, because the two are so dissimilar. I mean, to begin with, I think that if you were going to make a Call of the Wild movie, like a real authentic, like a faithful adaptation of it, it could not be rated PG-13. It could not be put out by Disney. It just couldn't, because there's so much brutality, so much blood, and just, oh my God, the deaths of some of the dogs are just so disturbing. And the people, there's this one scene, and not, this might be a small spoiler, but I won't say where it takes place or who it is. But there's this team of like, I guess you could call them like, well, they're a team of people that are searching for gold, and they have no idea. These are people from like all over, but they're just trying to find riches, but they have no idea how to survive in the North. They have no idea how to handle a team of dogs. And so they push these dogs, and they weigh down their sled to a degree that it's almost impossible for the dogs to pull, but they like whip them half to death just to get them to pull it. And it's so upsetting to read. And then you have this character that warns this group of bumbling idiots to stop what they're doing, that they need to unload their sled, they need to stake out for the night, and that they can't proceed on the route that they're on because the ice across this, like, I guess it's like a tundra or like a lake or something. There's water underneath. It says you cannot cross it because the ice is very unstable. It's very thin in areas, and you will fall through. And the people are so like headstrong and so stubborn and stupid in their quest that they just blow off the guy. They're like, "Oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about," and they proceed. And fortunately, this person pulls Buck, who's the main dog, from that group, and the group proceeds without Buck. And he watches, and sure enough, he describes how you see the team going across, and then they just all sink under the water, under the frozen lake, and the dogs, the sled, the entire team, they're all just swallowed up by this frozen wasteland of death. And it's so well done, it's so disturbing, it's so I mean, it's just a powerful survival story. Gritty, hyper realistic, super violent, and I don't know, I got a real it was very rewarding for me to revisit. So nothing at all like what I remembered, nothing at all like the movie, totally its own thing, and it's powerful. So highly recommend Jack London's Call of the Wild, and probably White Fang, which I will get around to reading, but haven't gotten there yet. So yeah, if you've read Call of the Wild and you have thoughts about it, or you remember things about it from maybe your childhood when you read it, please comment below. If you've seen the movie and care to comment about the movie. I mean, the movie was just kind of like bleh to me. Like it wasn't really that interesting to me. I thought it was kind of silly and Disneyfied. I think Disney's the one that put out that movie, but it felt certainly like a Disney movie. There was no real teeth to it. It was just kind of like this, I don't know. No. So anyway, Call of the Wild, let me know what you think, and thank you again for watching, and see you next time.